Did the Netherlands drop 2 points? Or did Japan just send a message to the entire world? Because when people look back at this game, they're going to see a 2-2-2 draw. But honestly, that score doesn't tell the full story. What we witnessed wasn't just another World Cup group stage match. This was a clash between two completely different football philosophies. One side had the bigger names, the bigger expectations, the richer football history. The Netherlands. And on the other side, a team that keeps getting stronger every single tournament. A team that nobody wants to face anymore. Japan. And by the end of the night, one thing became crystal clear. Japan are no longer a team that's just happy to be here. They're here to compete. They're here to challenge the best. And they proved it against one of Europe's biggest football nations. So what really happened? Why couldn't the Netherlands hold on to their lead? Why did Japan keep finding a way back into the game? And what does this result tell us about both teams moving forward in this World Cup? Let's break it all down. Because this match was about a lot more than 4 goals. Coming into this game, most football fans expected the Netherlands to be the stronger side. And honestly, that's understandable. When you look at the Dutch squad, you see quality everywhere. You see experience, you see leadership. You see players who have performed at the highest level of European football. On paper, the Netherlands looked like the better team. But football isn't played on paper. And if there's one thing we've learned over the last decade, it's this. Never underestimate Japan. Every World Cup, they seem to get better. Every tournament, they become more organized, more confident, more disciplined. And that's exactly what we saw here. One thing that immediately stood out was how comfortable Japan were. They never looked intimidated. They never looked nervous. And that's a huge deal. Because a lot of teams come into matches against traditional football powers and spend the entire game reacting. Japan didn't do that. They respected the Netherlands, but they didn't fear them. There's a big difference, and you could feel that confidence throughout the match. Now let's talk about the biggest misconception in football. People often think that whoever has more possession is controlling the game. That's not always true. The Netherlands had plenty of the ball. But Japan controlled something even more important. The spaces. They stayed compact, they stayed organized, and they forced the Dutch players into areas where they weren't as dangerous. That's elite level defending. Not because you're constantly making tackles, but because you're making life difficult for the opposition before they even reach dangerous positions. Japan were brilliant at that. What impressed me most about Japan wasn't their quality on the ball, it was their mentality. Twice, they found themselves in a difficult situation. Twice, they had a reason to panic. And twice, they refused. That's the sign of a mature football team. A lot of teams lose their structure when things go wrong. Japan didn't. They trusted their system. They trusted their teammates. And they trusted the process. That's why they kept coming back. And let's be honest, this wasn't luck. This wasn't one of those games where a team gets a couple of fortunate moments. Japan earned this result. Every time the Netherlands looked like they were taking control, Japan found an answer. Every time the Dutch thought they had the game where they wanted it, Japan responded. That takes character. That takes belief. And above all, that takes preparation. Another thing that stood out was the physical level of the Japanese players. As the game went on, they kept running. They kept pressing. They kept fighting for every second ball. And that's something we've been seeing from Japanese football for years now. The fitness levels are incredible. The work rate is incredible. And when you combine that with tactical discipline, you become a very difficult team to beat. That's exactly what happened here. Now let's switch over to the Netherlands. Because even though there were positives, there are definitely questions that need to be asked. The biggest one, game management. World Cups are not just about playing beautiful football. They're about controlling moments, managing pressure, closing games out. The best teams know how to win when things get uncomfortable. And that's where the Netherlands struggled. When they had momentum, they looked excellent. When they were challenged, they looked vulnerable. And that's something they'll need to fix if they want to make a deep run in this tournament. Because let's not forget, this Dutch team has quality. A lot of quality. They have players capable of changing games in an instant. They have leaders, they have experience, and they have enough talent to compete with almost anyone. The issue isn't talent. The issue is consistency. Can they maintain their level for 90 minutes? Can they stay focused in the biggest moments? That's the question. And right now, we don't have the answer. For Japan though, this result could be massive. Not just because of the point, but because of what it does psychologically. Think about it. When you go toe-to-toe with one of Europe's biggest football nations and prove you belong, your confidence grows. Your belief grows. Suddenly you start looking at the rest of the tournament differently. You stop thinking about survival, and you start thinking about opportunity. That's a dangerous mindset, especially in a World Cup. And here's the thing, I don't think Japan are a surprise team anymore. We've reached the point where calling Japan an underdog feels outdated. This is a nation that consistently produces talented players. A nation with a clear football identity. A nation that keeps proving itself on the biggest stage. They're not here to make up the numbers, they're here to compete. And after watching this performance, I think every team in the tournament knows that. As for the Netherlands, I still believe they're one of the strongest teams in the competition. But this game was a warning. A reminder that talent alone isn't enough. A reminder that every mistake gets punished at a World Cup. And a reminder that no opponent can be taken lightly, especially not this Japanese side. So what's the final verdict? For the Netherlands, it feels like 2 points lost. For Japan, it feels like a statement made. And for the rest of the football world, it's a reminder that this World Cup is wide open. Because if this match taught us anything, it's that the gap between the traditional giants and the rising powers is smaller than ever. And that's exactly what makes the World Cup so special. What do you think? Can Japan make a deep run in this tournament? And are the Netherlands still serious title contenders? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. But there's another side to this story that I don't think enough people are talking about. Everyone is focusing on the result. Everyone is focusing on the comeback. But for me, the most fascinating part of this game is what it says about the evolution of Japanese football. Because this didn't happen overnight. This wasn't some miracle performance. This wasn't a lucky draw. This was the result of years and years of development. Think about where Japanese football was 20 years ago. Back then, they were often viewed as a technically gifted team. A team that could play attractive football. A team that could occasionally cause problems for bigger nations. But very few people looked at Japan and saw a genuine threat. That's changed. And it's changed dramatically. Today, Japan produces players that are competing in some of the biggest leagues in the world. Players who are comfortable under pressure. Players who understand tactical systems. Players who have experience playing at the highest level every single week. And when those players come together at international level, you can see the difference. There's a maturity to this team. A confidence. A belief that they belong on this stage. And that's something you simply can't fake. You either have it or you don't. And right now, Japan has it. In fact, if I'm another team watching this tournament, Japan is quickly becoming one of the sides I'd want to avoid. Not because they have the biggest stars. Not because they have the biggest reputation. But because they make every game uncomfortable. They force you to work, they force you to stay focused. And the moment your concentration drops, they punish you. That's exactly what happened here. Now let's look at the Netherlands. Because, while Japan deserves a huge amount of credit, there are still some serious questions surrounding the Dutch side. And the biggest concern for me isn't tactical, it's psychological. When elite teams take control of matches, there's a certain ruthlessness that separates champions from contenders. Champions sense weakness. Champions finish games. Champions don't give opponents hope. The Netherlands had opportunities to put this game beyond doubt, but they never truly managed to kill the belief inside this Japanese team. And that's dangerous. Because once an opponent believes they can get back into the game, everything changes. The energy changes, the momentum changes, the pressure shifts, and suddenly the team that was in control starts feeling nervous. You could sense that happening throughout the match. The longer Japan stayed alive, the more confident they became. And the more confident Japan became, the more uncomfortable the Netherlands looked. That's not something you can ignore, especially in a World Cup, because knockout football is all about moments. You don't get second chances. You don't get opportunities to fix mistakes next week. One bad 20-minute spell can end your entire tournament, and that's why this result feels so important. Not because of the scoreline itself, but because of what it revealed. It revealed strengths. It revealed weaknesses. And most importantly, it revealed which team left the stadium believing they can achieve something special in this tournament. And honestly, I think that team was Japan.